Glad to be joined on signing day live by James Jones, now in his second stint at Northern Colorado. Has spent the last 3 years at San Jose, and it's good to have you back, James. Welcome back into the fold.
Well, it's good to be back.
Let's talk about your opportunity here facing you. As originally when you were here, you were defensive line coach, special teams coach.
Right.
To San Jose as a defensive line coach, and now the opportunity to come back as a defensive coordinator. How did that decision come about for you?
Well, it was a very easy decision for me. Knowing Coach Collins for a very long time and having the opportunity to work with him and his great staff was a no-brainer. Getting an opportunity to coordinate the defense, and some of the kids are still in the program that we had recruited, and the program itself is moving right along, and it's going in a great direction, and I can see that.
3 years away at San Jose State, working at the FBS level. What did you learn there that you hope to bring back to UNC?
Well, I'll tell you this: football is football, and Coach Collins runs a top-notch program. It wasn't a whole lot different from our program up there, the organizational part and the speed of how we practice and things of that nature. So it'll be a very smooth transition. I'm looking forward to adding something to the defense so that we can have our success.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, of course, with the retirement of Coach Kerr. You were asked very quickly to come back, and that there wasn't a hesitation at all for you.
Not at all. I see where the program is going. I've been watching, actually, the program as I've been away. So it was a very smooth transition. The type of players that are in the program right now versus when I was first here, they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger, they've got better skill set, and I think the brightest future is on the horizon.
You haven't had a great amount of time, of course, to analyze yet, but what is your general sense of this defense right now?
You know what? I see a toughness from the defense, especially in the front seven and the guys in the secondary. I see athleticism from the skill positions, and I see they have a very good football IQ, which all of those things you can work with, and you can get an opportunity to just hone in and just continue to tighten the screws with it. And I think you guys will be satisfied with the product that we put out.
In terms of X's and O's, will you be changing up the scheme at all, or what are your plans there?
Well, we're gonna be diverse in the fronts and the coverages. We're gonna mix it up. We're gonna blend our calls a little bit more, and just do basically what the kids do the best. Put them in the best position to make plays.
The main reason, of course, that you're here is the newest additions to your defense. And while you were in a position of coming in as a whirlwind, you, of course, participated in some of the recruiting as well. Talk about stepping in to recruiting as a process late in the game like you did here and being able to still make the sale and get guys signed on.
Well, the big thing is the rest of the staff did a great job. They knew exactly where the holes were and what they needed, and all I did is came in and kind of put in place, okay, basically they told me where to go and who to see and get an opportunity to get out and just sell our product a little bit more.
Among the guys that you brought in, let's start with a California guy in Denario Critton, defensive back out of Pomona High School out there. Talk about him a little.
Oh, great athlete, great quickness, good football IQ. He's a young man that has had a lot of. He had 3 touchdowns. He had an opportunity to get a couple of picks. And the thing is, he played all over the field. He played on offense. He played on defense. So his football, once again, we'll go again with the football IQ, is extremely high, and the kid is an extremely high motor and motivated kid.
Marquise Davis, an athlete out of Greenwood Village, Colorado.
That's another kid right down the road. Down in Denver that we put on his film. He played running back. He played a little bit of slot. He got an opportunity to play in the secondary. Just a very high football IQ kid that is not not understands the game itself. So with the diversity that you have to have on defense, it's very important that the guys can ingest the package and get an opportunity to put themselves in the best position possible.
When you're recruiting from a high school and you've got a guy who is an athlete like that and is playing so diversely on both sides of the ball, what do you look to pay attention to there?
Well, we have our standards, and we look at, his foot quickness, his speed, where he's looking, how he's being coached, and obviously we know Coach Logan and those guys have been doing well in the state for a long time, and we just basically try and fit him into what we're looking to do and see if he's a great fit for us. We other people recruit differently. We want guys that fit what we do best.
Ryan Dorian is a defensive end out of Kansas City, Missouri, who will be making his way here.
Defensive lineman of the year in Kansas City, a great kid, great athleticism, was able to run quarterbacks down. He had 12 sacks, and I think he had 24 tackles for loss. Just a hard-nosed, tough, very smart football player that shows the athleticism to be able to transition on pass also. So
another in-stater at linebacker, Xavier Dreiling, comes in from Littleton.
Yeah, from Wheat Ridge. This X is a kid that, once again, he played H-back, he played on offense, and then he played linebacker. He's a kid that, will stick his face in there. He's very physical, and he has an opportunity to add depth to our linebacker.
Chuck Davis Ezeli out of, this one's so easy to say, New Hampton, New Hampshire at defensive end for you.
I'll tell you what, Chuck, he went to prep school out there and in New Hampshire, and he's had very limited time. He only played 1 year high school football in Sacramento, but at the same time, you see the traits of he catches on very quick, and he's very meticulous and detailed in his technique. He's a physical guy. He's played at 260 before, and we're looking forward to him adding depth on the defensive line.
Stone Kane, a junior college transfer for you out of a very good program in Iowa Western. He hails originally from Fairbank, Iowa, and will come in as a safety.
Yeah, all Iowa JC pick here. He's a guy, he'll stick his face in it. He's got a great football IQ. He has great vision and eye discipline in the secondary, which we know that's very important. And he plays 100 miles an hour, and we're looking forward to coaching him.
Speaking of hard nose, you're likely to get a hard-nosed guy at defensive tackle out of Texas. Garland, Texas is where Lane Scott comes from.
Big Lane Scott, big, physical, three-technique nose type guy that can knock guys off the ball, gets vertical, able to command a double team, which is going to really, and has the size and the girth in order to do multiple things in our defense. 6'3", 285 guy, and he's a brick wall.
Congratulations again, Coach. Good to have you back. We appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Coach Jones and his defense again getting their first look at things when spring practices begin. We'll take a look at a few highlights of last season, while we bring on Director of Sports Performance Jeff Butler in a few minutes. We continue with, Signing Day Live. Signing Day Live continues online at uncbears.com. It's brought to you by Banner Health, North Colorado Medical Center, and Cable's Pub and Grill. We welcome Jeff Butler, the new Director of Performance, to the program. And Jeff, you come from Southern Utah, an opportunity to come to Greeley. What brought you here as a lure, if you will?
Coach Collins and his staff have done a great job of, building this program up, and it's kind of an exciting time to be here, to be a part of a team that kind of returns the program to dominance. So that was a really attractive opportunity to bring you here to Greeley.
You've been at Dartmouth, you've been at Montana, as well as now Southern Utah. Mm-hmm. What philosophies have you picked up at each spot, and what do you bring here that you'll look to implement?
So what we're kind of looking here to implement is that we're athletes at the end of the day. Weightlifting is a tool to be better football players, so we base everything on how well we move. It's one thing to get a kid to squat more weight, but more weight through a fuller range of motion leads to better athletic performance on the field, leads to better injury prevention and things like that. So just kind of a precision to our lifting, and then a certain kind of intensity in the weight room, as well as expectations, on the field.
You're also a former player. How did that influence what you want to work with these guys on?
I played at Appalachian State for the first part of my career, and everywhere I've been, the weight room has kind of been a direct reflection of how we've done on the field. From terms of, I haven't been around a successful team that wasn't successful in every aspect of preparation. They were great in the weight room. We were great at practice. We didn't have a lot of off-field issues, and then, no surprise, we brought that discipline and that hard work over to the field. So that's been a commonality that I want to make sure that I keep up my end of the bargain in the weight room, making sure we're disciplined there, so that carries over to the football field.
Having worked at Southern Utah this past season, it means you were part of the team that went on to win the conference title and appeared in the playoffs. How did you build to that point, at least from a strength and conditioning standpoint?
Very similar to here. When we got here, there's a great tone from the upperclassmen, having a standard of hard work. It's not been hard to get these guys going. The same thing at Southern. It is just a matter of kind of channeling that hard work in the right direction. We go back to talking about movement earlier, making sure that we're working on what we're not good at, not just working on what we are good at. So kind of taking those deficiencies out of the equation, then again, your overall athletic performance just increases. And then to harbor back again, if they're working hard in the weight room, it's a habit. Then they work hard in the classroom, it's a habit. So then greatness isn't just a lone act. They've been practicing it all off season.
How tough is it to keep guys' minds right when you're working on the things that, at least from your aspect, you say that they're not doing well?
Well, that's sort of the challenge of the job right there. We're here in week 4, and it's a lot of fun to see here in week 4 that things are starting to click. All the tumblers are falling into place. So it's a big idea to throw at the kids all at once. So one, you're trying to make sure, hey, we're working, and then we're safe. But then 2, we start to kind of channel that work, and now you can just see like the things we work on in the warm-ups, it's carrying over into how we lift. We're lifting better. Then, since we're lifting better, it's carrying over onto the field. We're running better. So that's one thing, is that we're trying to make these guys more athletic, and it's really fun from my standpoint, getting to see them every day. All those little drills we work on, it's starting to click with the guys.
How much of a whirlwind was it for you to step in and implement your program so quickly?
It happened fast. The whole process was maybe like 5 to 7 days on there, so it was kind of. And again, it was a great opportunity, so it sort of dropped everything in Utah and then came out here and worked for about a week or 2, and then had to fly back home on a Friday night. Made sure I said hey to the recruits on a Friday night, and then flew back, loaded up the U-Haul, and then came back on Sunday, and then back to work Monday morning. So it's been nonstop, but it's been a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the job.
You already brought up hard work as one of the traits that you've already picked up on from this group. What else have you seen?
There is an intensity. There's a big desire from these guys. They really they got a taste of success last season, and they still want that. There is no complacency in this group. They're not saying like, hey, we had a winning record, cool, and they're not sitting back on their heels. You can see they're still working. They got a taste of success. Now they want more. They want to get that 8-3, 9-2, 10-1. They want to get to that level.
What are the things then that going forward this year especially you hope will push them to that point?
From our end, it's going to be consistency with the guys. So we've kind of set the standard for hard work this first month, and we're not going to back off in month 2, or and 3 is going to kind of keep turning it up. Every day they're with me, they're going to get the same coach. So the expectations are going to be high, and these guys are doing a great job of meeting those expectations. And then, I'm expecting them to exceed that here in the next month. We start doing some testing going into spring ball.
Well, welcome into the program, Jeff. We're glad to have you here.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you.
Jeff Butler, again, the new strength and conditioning coach for UNC. As we continue on Signing Day Live, we'll talk with redshirt sophomore return specialist Ellis Onic II. Spring football right around the corner with the team spring game coming up on April 23rd at noon at Nottingham Field. The 8th annual Women's Walk will precede the spring game, set for a 10:30 start that morning. The annual Color Blast Walk marks one of the largest women's athletic scholarship fundraisers at UNC. Continuing our signing day live coverage online at uncbears.com. Ellis, congratulations again on a tremendous year. We've talked a number of times about what took place this past year in terms of your All-American awards and your returns, of course, that helped you to a number of marks. The College Football Performance Award, Punt Returner of the Year, was right there. It's an award that went to an FBS player last season. How does it feel to be recognized so widespread for what you did this year?
I mean, it was a pleasure. First off, you want to thank God first and foremost. But, I just want to thank the coaching staff, my family, for always believing in me and, always putting in my head that we trust you, just get the job done, do what you've been doing for going on 10 years now. So just, be yourself and don't try and do nothing extra.
Very quickly in practices, you guys gained a new tone with a new coach for special teams.
We did.
Talk a little about what Coach Cummings brought to the unit and how everyone bought in very quickly.
He brought tempo and he brought in consistency. He said another thing he brought in was, we have to raise the level that we did last year. Last year we was, I think, #1 in kickoff return, and he said this year, we need to be #1 in both of them. So he brought a level of consistency, and he told us, this is our standards, this is what we have to do, and you either have to match it or you have to be better than.
You had been a return man in high school.
Yes, sir.
It was pretty well straightforward at that point. It was catch the ball and just try and make something happen.
Right.
There's a lot more to it than that when you reach this level.
It is, but it's not. But, because Coach Collins, who is my returns coach, he just tells me, he tries to simplify it for me, catch the ball and do what you do. But at the same time, Coach Cummings tells me, this is who you look for, this is what you need to do. But, if once I go back to Coach Collins, he'll tell me, this is what you need to do, and just be yourself. Don't try and be nobody different.
When we talked last, you brought up very quickly the point that you didn't want to spend a lot of time dwelling on the rewards of this past year, that the awards were for a season that is now complete, and it's time to look to 2016. Why is that?
Because I feel like people who sit over there and look at what they did the past year, they can't progress and go ahead the next year. And, I'm tired of hearing about Mr. All-American, Mr. Plaque, all that. I'm ready to send those plaques back home, give them to my parents. And like I told them before I left a couple of weeks ago, I'm tired of hearing about it. I don't want to hear about it no more. So when this pass is over, it's on to 2016.
What do you hope to accomplish in 2016?
Honestly, just whatever the Lord brings me and, just be a great football player for my teammates and this coaching staff.
You chomping at the bit already for spring practice?
I am. Yes, sir, I am.
Weight room not doing it for you?
Nah, weight room. Coach Jeff Coach Jeff brings a new edge to the weight room, but, I'm tired of looking at him too. I'm ready to get back. I'm ready to get back under Coach Collins' skin.
Ellis, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Good to
Ellis
see you.
Onic II again, named All-American in a couple of locales for his punt returns and kick returns this season.
A new era has come to Big Sky Conference basketball. 24 teams will invade the Reno Event Center on March 7th. Make plans to join us in Reno, where you'll be the witness to all the basketball madness you can handle. Tickets are on sale now. Visit www.roadtoreno.com to get all the details on how you can join your team on the road to Reno.
We continue on Signing Day Live. It's brought to you by Banner Health and North Colorado Medical Center, as well as Cable's Pub and Grill. Coach Boyer, good to see you again.
You as well.
Last season, one of the more successful seasons in terms of offensive production for this team. Your rushing game improved. The passing game got figured out and became effective. You moved a little more into the no huddle as the season wore on. And looking back on the year, how do you define it in terms of success?
I think it starts with the players. They finally they believe that they can play at this level, and they believe that they can win. And then there's also competition in every position, and that's something we're always preaching. Once you have that competition, no one can take a down or a rep off, and that breeds success. So that's the starting point of it all. And then I think that our coaches have done a great job. Our rushing attack was better this year. Trevor's come in, done a fantastic job with the O-line, and Coach Hayden's done a good job coaching up our running backs. So it took us a little while to get the pass game going this past season, but having that depth, we were able to shake some things up and start to get some of our playmakers involved more.
You brought up that the running backs especially continued to improve as the year went on. We saw a lot of activity out of Trey Reek, the redshirt freshman. You had Jacob Knipp, redshirt freshman, at quarterback. How good are those two going to be with a veteran offensive line working in front of them?
I think the sky's the limit right now. What's impressive about those two young men is just their confidence and their leadership. They came in and they're mature beyond their years, and it showed. They were able to take this thing and run it. They had goals coming out of that redshirt freshman year that they were both going to be on the field, and they worked their way up into that lineup. Trey's a special player, we know that. He can do things with the football that a lot of guys can't, both at running the ball and receiving. So it's nice to have someone that has that kind of ability. And Nip he's a blue-collar workaholic, and I love everything about him, especially his leadership.
You had a few needs coming into the signing day. Quarterback was one that you had earmarked, some wide receivers along with a few offensive line positions. You were able to fill those holes as needed pretty well with this group, weren't you?
I think we have done that. We're very excited about this recruiting class, and we've had some great feedback from our current players, and that's something that's important for us. It is about the fit, as Coach Jones was saying, and it's not so much about the fit into the scheme, but the fit into our culture. And it's taken a long time to get this feeling back within this environment, especially in the locker room. And that's what was most important, is to hear the feedback from our current players about the prospects we brought in. Let's
take a look at the individuals that you did sign. Start with Evan Kuhn, running back out of Sheridan, Wyoming. Talk about him.
Evan, we first came across him. He came to our team camp this year. He's a hard-nosed runner. Coach Grable, he coached running backs for quite a few years. He always said, give me a cold weather back. And I think that we found one of those. And Coach Hayden's done a great job recruiting him. He's just up the road in Wyoming, so it's good to bring him into our culture. He's interested in becoming an orthodontist, so maybe we can tie him into another alum from this program.
I was going to say, I think we have an idea where he could do an internship or something.
Yes.
Spencer Gatlin, offensive lineman for you.
Spencer Gatlin. When we first came into this program, when Coach Collins hired me on, I was given the recruiting area, basically everything west of the Front Range, everything west of I-25, and he's up in a small community, Dove Creek. And at that time, that's a school that's middle school and senior school together. And that coach that was there told me that there wasn't anybody currently that would be interested in, but give it 5 years, and here we are. Coach Blevins has done a great job recruiting him. He came up to our 8-man camp and our big man camp, and he's a physical player that I think the upside is huge.
Interesting you bring up the 8-man aspect of it. How tough is it to get a feel for a guy from an 8-man team when you're recruiting for this level?
They came to our camp, and that is an exciting environment. Coach Hayden's done a great job with those camps, and when you get to see him in person, it puts your mind at ease about what your feelings are about him. It confirms everything that you're seeing.
Jaron Pierce, a wideout out of Mission Hills, California.
Jaron Pierce, I actually had the first chance to evaluate him. I ran into Coach Jones at their facility on the same day, and this is a neat kid. I've had a chance to get to know him very well. He's high energy, very energetic, very grateful. He's a polished wide receiver that creates space like nobody that we have seen. So we're very excited about what he brings to the table.
Tim Pless, wide receiver out of Littleton.
Pless is a local kid down the road. Coach Kerr had the pleasure of recruiting him. He came up to one of our one-day camps this summer, and we all had to do a double take on our watches. So he set the fastest 40 time for us, and I'd give the number, but I don't know if anybody would believe it. So, you can't coach speed, and he definitely gives us that deep threat that we were looking for.
Logan Richards, offensive lineman, played at Rocky Mountain just up the road in Fort Collins.
Very excited about this young man. We have a solid group up front. We have some depth there, and bringing in a tackle is something that we needed to do. And this has been the top guy for Coach Wickery since this process began. And him and Coach Blevins have done an outstanding job recruiting him. He's a Colorado kid through and through. Loves to hunt, fish. He's interested in parks and rec, and so, we were very, very grateful he chose to stay home.
Noah Solm, Whiteout, Danville, California.
Noah Sol, we graduate this coming season a couple of bigger targets in Stephen Miller, and that's one that we really wanted to try to find someone that can replace that type of size. And Coach McGuire came across his film, passed it along to Coach Grable, and it was a done deal from there on. We fell in love with his ability. He's a ball hawk when it's up in the air, and he's only played 1 year wide receiver, so it's I think there's a lot of upside to him.
Junior college transfer out of Contra Costa Community College, Frank Stevens, Whiteout, his hometown, Oakland, California.
This young man is actually in our program now. We were not going to go on an older wide receiver this year. Coach Collins came across his film and passed him on to us, and you just can't pass up that kind of talent. He's extremely fast. He brings a little bit of height to our program, but number one, he is a good student. He's accountable, and that's something that's already shown through to Coach Grable. He's not a guy that you're going to have to stay on. I expect big things out of him. He was an academic, he's a high academic student, but also an All-American football and track at the JC.
Matt Steele, offensive lineman out of Colorado Springs.
Matt Steele, we got some ties here at UNC. Both of his parents are alumni. His dad played basketball here. So it's a young man that Coach Armour was recruiting and staying on. We're intrigued by not only his size, but he just recently played an all-star game and he was playing tackle. Whereas on his film, throughout the course of the year, he had been an interior guy playing guard and center. So, I think the upside is big with him, and we're excited to make him a part of our program. One
that just came in literally as we got started this afternoon, quarterback Keaton Torrey out of South Jordan, Utah.
Keaton Torrey, this is a big one for us here. We're very excited about bringing him into the program. Coach Cummings and Matt from Compliance, they've done an outstanding job making sure this has been a smooth transition. He's extremely intelligent, and that's one thing that I always look for in the quarterback room is to make sure that they have more intelligence than I do, so it makes the job easier. He's I don't know all the ratings, but he's a 3 or 4 star recruit. It's an interesting story, and he's a very humbled kid that's hungry to come in and compete. Nip had the chance to host him on his visit, and their connection there was strong, and I can't say enough good things about him and what we're looking forward to see what he can do in the future.
Your overall thoughts on this class as you wrap up here at signing day?
Overall thoughts, for us it is about making sure that they're coming into our culture and they fit the current culture that we have. And I think that these young men are men of character. They're good students. They're good football players, or else we wouldn't be considering them. But overall, it's met our needs that I think we need to move forward.
Great. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
John Boyer, offensive coordinator. As we continue on Signing Day Live, we'll get some thoughts from head coach Ernest Collins Jr. But first, another look at the Bears' 2016 home football schedule and season ticketing options. We're now joined by head coach Ernest Collins Jr. Before we get to your thoughts on this class, let's talk about the 2015 season and what a special run that wound up being, especially as you're able to gain wins down the stretch and push yourself over that 500 mark.
It was a great season for our program, and just the jump start, for us here in the future. And so, by all means, that's not a goal for us to have a 6-5 season, but it was great to get it jump started with a winning season. So, no one cares about winning seasons anymore. That's done, and we already got that done. And so now it's time for playoffs and championships.
Something that Coach Boyer brought up, and that was, being able to reclaim some of the past, if you will, in terms of the attitude. And when you gain your first winning season in 12, you're beginning to get a feel for having that winning spirit, that attitude in the locker room that you can win any week out.
Really, it was just the kids decided to take over. From you name it, from holding each other accountable, to the discipline. I had to be very little discipline this year because the kids handle most of it. I keep calling them kids, but our players handle most of it, and so that just carried over to the locker room, onto the field, onto the game, on the game day experience. And so our guys did a great job of just deciding and refusing to lose. And so, and our young guys basically took over. Hence you see the up and down weeks. From 1 week, you beat the 7th ranked team or the 12th ranked team to losing. So we're going to build on that and understand now we have to be ready. It can't be a surprise when we beat somebody.
Plus, on top of that, I know one area that you're looking hard at in getting ready for the coming season will be how you approach road games.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it goes back to the ups and downs. 'Cause most of our big victories came at home. Then you get on the road, and it's like you walk in, nobody cares what you did last week. It's on to the next. So for us, it's about preparation. We'll continue to do the things that we do, but now our mindset for our kids has to be understand that they don't care if you won last week or lost last week. It's about what are you going to do this week.
James Jones comes back to the program as defensive coordinator after Larry Kerr steps down, retiring after 40 years in the coaching gig. Why were you looking at James right off the bat?
Well, first, just having Coach Kerr around, was awesome for me personally and selfishly because I was able to pick his brain on a lot of things. He was able to, come to me with some things that Sonny used to do, and Coach Kerr had his own way of, hey, Coach, you ought to think about this, and most of the time it made sense. And so he's going to be sorely missed, but, you get a chance to get a quality coach like Coach Jones back in our program, and he was with us for 2 years when we first got here. And so to bring him back for me was just really a natural fit, because he's a good football coach and he's a tremendous recruiter, so it was a no-brainer for me.
Let's talk about this class. What are your expectations right out of the box with this group?
To be honest with you, I mean, we'll know. Once they get here, you never really can tell what you're going to have, but you got a good football player, and honestly, if someone comes in and ready to play, we'll play them. But you would hope that you're starting to get to the point in your program where you don't have to play the young ones. But by all means, if we get a young one that comes in and he's ready to go, we're going to put him out there and let him play.
That's evidenced, in fact, by the fact that two of your guys specifically that were such impact guys were red shirts in your program in the past, but could potentially have been guys that could have played right up front for you.
No question. I mean, you look at Trey, he could have played for us as a freshman, just needed some fine-tuning. And so did Nip. Nip actually almost played as a freshman in the Montana game. We almost pulled his red shirt and had him play, and he was ready for it. But it's always fortunate when you can redshirt a kid, because I always give the analogy of, if you could go back to play a fifth year of high school football, how dominant would you be? So it's the same thing. We get him into our strength program for 5 years with Coach Butler. It'll be dangerous as to what we'll have 5 years from now. So if all these guys can come in and we can afford to redshirt them, that'd be great. But there's probably going to be one or two that have to come in and play for us.
Two junior college players that you brought into the program, one on each side of the ball. They're already in place and ready to get to work in spring practice for you.
Yeah, like John mentioned, we had a chance to get Frank Stevens, and again, it goes back to ties, goes back to Coach Jones. Anytime we find somebody that caliber, most of the time there's a tie to Coach Jones in there somewhere. And so Coach introduced me to the head JC coach over there, and Coach Zoe, everybody calls him, and he said, listen, man, this kid, he just got, as we say, he got played, and they didn't do him right, at another university. So he said, Coach, if you got something for him, I have one for you. And man, I watched the film, and I really, you couldn't pass that up, because we've been nicknaming him Dimitri 2.0, and so because he has that ability to make plays like Dimitri Stenfield did for us, and so we're looking forward to Frank coming in, making some plays. He's a quiet kid; he won't say much, but he'll make some plays on the football field. And Stone Kane is he's just a football player. He loves the weight room. He'll come up and knock your block off, and so we're looking forward to getting back there in the safety spot and let him do some damage for us.
Bringing up spring practices, when do you look to get going with the unit?
March 22nd. We'll get on the field that Tuesday, but that Monday we'll have had a meeting already, the 21st, and we'll go Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and we'll get it going for 15 practices.
We brought up earlier the spring game taking place the same Saturday as the women's walk. What do you expect out of your spring game this year?
Really the spring game is really for y'all, so to speak, because by the time the spring game comes, we've got everything done that we want to get done. So really it's just to come out and put on a show. for the fans that have been supporting us throughout the season, and that's really what it's all about, the spring game.
Good to see you once again. Good that everything is caught up in terms of recruiting. I know that, too. Busiest time of the year.
Yeah, we had one come in right as we were walking in here, and, of course, Matt won't let you mention them until all the paperwork's right. And so, we got Vincent Hurd that we just got in the books right as we walked in. So he's another DB that, if there's one that'll come in and can do some damage for us right away, it might be him.
He might be the guy that could do some work for you early.
Very well
What about position battles?
We always want those. I mean, like I told Trey and I have developed a kind of a unique relationship, and I just tell him, dude, don't rest on your laurels because somebody might come up and take yours like you took somebody else's last year. So it's always a battle. And when you get like that on your team where it's a battle week in and week out, you can win some football games.
Congratulations. Nice class, Coach.
I appreciate it.
Ernest Collins, Jr., the head coach of the Bears. From everyone here at Northern Colorado Athletics, I'm Troy Coverdale, the voice of the Bears, thanking you for joining us online today for Signing Day Live. We'll look forward to seeing you at Nottingham Field for the spring football game coming up on April 25th.